Okay, here's a video about putting standard deviations together for various effects. We've got there's a wind study. We're going to use this for a solar analysis, but we've got uncertainty on wind and uncertainty on energy. And this uncertainty on wind and uncertainty on energy, we combined everything using this thing called the root sum square. Combined everything to get the P50, P75, P90, etc., etc., etc. Now, before I start, I'm going to go off about something. I had an argument with somebody, I'm not going to tell you who. And they said, look, bankers get these studies, you get 2 studies, why'd you have to read them, why'd you have to check them? And if you look at mistakes that have been made in finance, if you think about the mistakes that were made by believing these, excuse me for saying, idiotic analyses made by rating agencies, if you saw the initial wind studies and how much rubbish they completely were, if you saw look at all these toll road studies made by this Wilbur Smith or whoever in the hell they are, they're just wrong and wrong and wrong. To not do your own independent analysis, why bother then? What's your function if you can't at least ask questions? So I'm going to do this so we can ask questions. I'm going to use this one to start. Now, this is just a very old wind study. It's public. It's on. I'll put it on my website. Now, if I copy this, some fancy person said, let's lock this so nobody can copy this. Why in the heck would you do that? See, I restrained myself. So here's what you can do. We can hack this. To hack this, oops, there's my. I have to show you. I made some kind of group thing or something. How'd you do this? You go to groups. I made some kind of financial modeling addicts group. Look, I've got 2 members. 2 members. I think it's me and my son. That's big success here. Okay, so what you do is you go to, I've already done this, but I suppose we'll go back. You go to Google, go to, I hope I'm not showing some kind of secret here. You go to the Google Drive. Okay. And here it is. It's this one. You can get see, I've got all my things there. So you go to the Google Drive, and you just copy it. And then here's the magic trick. Then after it's locked, of course I didn't know how to do this. I just went to the search and search this. But then once you have this, you can download it. Now, it's not quite as easy as all that, so let's get the things we were talking about. You can kind of see some of the things that are done in these wind studies. And again, please, please, please don't be intimidated by them. You know, that's the point of this. Please. Don't say, I'm a finance person. I'm not supposed to know this. You know? Even if you aren't going to question them, to understand it is I think something very valuable. So let's make a new sheet. Now when you copy this, kind of does the same thing as the other ones, but it puts an extra blank line in there. Now okay, so then we go to the next one and we get these uncertainties. That's what we really want, is these uncertainty things. Oops, it didn't copy absolutely everything, but that's fine. And here we go. Put that in a different sheet. And finally, let's get one more. Okay, and this probability of exceedance garbage. No, good stuff, sorry. Oh, maybe, hang on. This is maybe what I did wrong. Was this in the GE one or the other one? So let's copy this and paste this. Okay. Okay, now, once you've done this, okay, what you can do, now I went and I already have this read PDF to Excel open. Okay, am I recording? I think so. I'm recording, okay. Oh shoot, I've got to copy this again. And then we're going to open a file called read PDF to Excel. Okay, copy this. And I think I already put it there, didn't I? Oh god, I'm redoing it. Okay. Okay, then if you go to the all the stuff, okay, this is something else I'm working on. You go to chapter 1, remember, and in chapter 1 you go to the Excel utilities and you go to the read PDF to Excel. Okay? Now after you've done that, you press Shift Control A, and for the first one we just want one column, and it did this, but now we're not quite finished. We want to get the macros for cleaning up. Now if you don't have this, you just press Shift Control Y, but you can click this one for cleaning up and say delete blank rows, and luckily it worked. Let's take this and divide that by 100 to get it as a percentage. Control D, Shift Control P. Okay, and then since it worked, I'm going to delete this one. And then we can press Shift Control A. This time it does have 2, and go to cleaning up and delete it. And this is the uncertainty estimates, okay? And really that's one of the main things we're going to work on. And then we look at this one, and this time I think we have 3 things here. Shift Control A. It says 3 up here, so it's okay. Press this one, and it looks like a mess. Let's press Shift Control D. It'll probably still be, it's a little bit less of a mess, not much. Okay, and then we have these P50s and P90s. You know, I don't need all this crap here. Let's leave this and call it the 2, Control minus to delete all the extra junk. And I guess they had one turbine and 2 turbines. And this was the capacity factor, and this was the production, and this was the probability. Okay, which it looks like it's not really exciting. No, it's a tiny bit different, isn't it? Okay, so oops. Okay, so let's. How about this? Let's just put them all in one sheet and talk about it for just a minute. So I'll put this somewhere down below, and these are uncertainty estimates. Okay, and okay. I think, yeah, okay, so let's it doesn't have the, does it have the gross, did they have the kind of gross capacity factor here? This was just, let's look at, this was loss percent. Doesn't say whether it's the one turbine or two turbines, so we don't really matter. So the gross capacity factor looks like it's 31%. Do you see this? So if just to practice this, because we're going to do about the same thing on the solar, okay? So we start with a gross yield or something like that, and that was a, how about we'll put 31%, okay? And then we take, how about, here's one way to do it. We can take 1 minus this, and this is all, these are all the losses. And then, so I'll just take this. So, or no, how about this? We'll just take the 31%, and then take this 31%. Oops. Multiply this by this, and then oops, shift control P, and then we can take this one and multiply it by the next one and so forth. Ah, shit. Okay, and then when we kind of see how it goes down. Okay. All right, so it went down by about 17%. We get 25%, and ooh. Okay, shift control P, shift control P, and the P50 was 22.4%, which is not exactly what we were getting, but you know, these are the kind of things I would ask. This one was 23.3%. 25.6%. Why we get something different? Let's just look one more time. Maybe I had the wrong starting point. Gross. I don't see a problem here. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna keep going. I would ask these kind of questions if once you see these. I don't see what I did wrong. Now these uncertainty estimates. Do you see where it says root sum error? This one. Let's just talk about this for a minute. Okay, I looked it up on the internet. I thought it was all complicated. All you do is take the square. It says square. So the first thing we're going to do is square it. Shift Control P. Okay, we'll square them all. Control D. And then we can press alternate equal to sum them. And once you press alternate equal, then take the square root. It's kind of like the standard deviation business. So at least we matched one figure. Now, this is long-term changes or something, this one, okay? If we would take this one away, we've got 12.24. So the good news is you can isolate on different pieces of the analysis. Now, if we, this is supposed to be the long-term estimate. So here we'll use our magic formula, norm inverse, this one. And we take this probability, actually what you do is take 1 minus this one. And then it says take the mean. Well, the mean is, let's use it for the capacity factor, is this. And then the standard deviation, well, you've got this standard deviation, which you can press F4 and multiply that by the total. Now, when you do this, it didn't work. We actually, it was just biased upwards. This is kind of upsetting. we've got too much of a range here and too little of a range here. Let's do the same thing. Let's copy this to here. Now we'll have to change this. It's too bad. But this, I would ask, what in the heck's going on? And well, what did I do here? This was supposed to be the mean capacity factor, so I did something wrong. And this was the next one. It was supposed to be the average multiplied by the mean. Okay, so that's a little better. Let's fix this one. So, excuse me for making that mistake that I just wanted you to catch, of course. So now it looks like we get from 30 to 16. This is a little bit too little, this is a little bit too much, so then this one is a little bit too small of a variation. Ooh. This is too much of a variation, so we're not going to get it right. If I would wake effect, short-term changes in long-term average. If I take this, delete that one, or how about I delete a bunch of these? Then you get a different number. So you can see here the first thing. Let's just talk about the current thing. This is wind, and this is energy. So we need to get the deviation. We need to get the uncertainty, which is the standard deviation divided by the average. Don't be afraid of statistics. This is this for all of the items. Now, I don't know quite why it doesn't work, but what we're going to do next is show you how once you get the standard deviation on energy, we'll just assume these come from somewhere. These are the kind of things you need to absolutely ask the consultant about. You know, if you go through the whole risks of electricity projects, you can mitigate construction risk with a long-term contract. You can mitigate capacity factor risk, availability risk with some kind of O&M contract. You can mitigate the heat rate with some kind of contract with Alstrom or GE or somebody, but you can't mitigate the resource risk in these renewables. So it's an essential kind of thing to be able to ask questions about. And let's delete these things. Okay, so that was just meant to be a little bit of an introduction on the whole thing. Now, after we do this, I'm going to also show you how to do a simulation. So this is wind study, and let's do solar simulation. Okay, and it's not so different. Let's assume that we kind of have a gross yield, and why don't we make something very simplistic? Let's say we're in the desert or something. I don't know. Let's say we got a good yield. This would be from the irradiation data before we put any kind of performance ratio in or anything. So let's put a percent. And then let's put a energy. So let's say we have 1,000. Let's just simply multiply this by 1,000, whatever it is, kilowatts or something. How about if we want to multiply by 8,760, we can do that too, if you care. That's just a number. It doesn't matter. We're just multiplying 24 by something, and then let's put temperature coefficient You know, and this is this thing. You can read up about it. I was reading it. But this is the biggest probably factor in this whole performance ratio. Let's say we lose, if we're in the desert, let's say we lose 8%. So this is it's either the percent or the losses. And then we can put, how about net? So we just start with this, and we'll put 1 minus this, just like we did in that other one. And now the energy is going to be related to this, will be this multiplied by the 8%, I believe. Okay. And then we can, let's put some soiling losses. That's not soil, but that's like sand, or you know, you can put snow. If you have snow coverage on, you're going to lose something, soiling loss. So let's say that's 4%, which apparently is very high. But let's say we neglect to clean our panels. Okay, so, and then if we want the energy here, we better take this minus the above one times that's how much we'll lose. You know, we have to keep compounding these things. And that's what I'm really kind of trying to show. And the big question is how to adjust for these percentages. I get very confused by all this. The Monte Carlo simulation is pretty easy. We're going to prove that it all kind of works. And then let's just put inverter and other. Okay, so let's say that's 3%. Again, this time we can copy this. I hope, did I do that right? No, I didn't do this right. This should have been this one minus. Okay, that's one way to do it. We could also, let's just check this, so we can just take this. This would be 92% times this one. Okay, so we could have done it that way. I'll put base or something. And then our difference here would be the amount that we're applying to each one. So I hope 168, 77, 57, okay? We don't need all this. Okay, now let's put some deviation percent. This is the way they seem to be stated in the studies. Now, I'm going to put 4%, which seems to be, which would be a lot. But what the hell? That's what we looked at earlier. Okay, this is standard deviation percent. Okay, and let's say the temperature coefficient. Let's say that's higher. We have a bigger. Oh shit. We have a bigger loss, and let's say this soiling, even that's 8%. And inverter others, let's say it's 3%. We're more confident in these ones for some reason. Okay, now the question is how to combine all of these things. Now we have to be it's not good to combine the 4 and the 6 and this because they're on a different base. We've got to be very careful. So energy, how about energy standard deviation? Now here's when we do this one, we can put net. So the net capacity factor is going to be this times this times this times this. This is what we tried to do just before with that other example. I don't know why it didn't work, but I just can't imagine it would be anything else. Okay, I don't know. Could they have just added these losses? What if we would have taken this minus? Well, we can't do that, obviously. But I mean, we could have just taken these losses as this one times the gross. and then Shift Control P, just add all these up without having the effect of compounding. And then this one minus this one, 25.14. No, it's even worse. 20. Well, no, it's not even worse, but it still doesn't answer why we didn't get exactly the same result. But, okay. So now we take the energy and multiply it by the standard deviation. Okay. Oh, shit. Ah, crap. I'm going to get an error now. Whoops. No, I didn't. Huh. Shift Control 1, Control D. You could press whatever. Okay. And then the deviation square. So remember, that's the thing we did next, is we raised this to the second power. This time it goes the other way. I hope I didn't. And then we sum this, and then we take the square root. Okay, so that gives us that. We could also, okay, I think that's okay. And then we can see, well, what's the standard deviation percent? Take this divided by this, we get, whoops, I'm sorry, the energy, we should take this minus this minus this minus this. Okay, so the standard deviation percent is this divided by this. Shift Control P, so it's a little bit higher than the 4%, but not distorted by these funny things. Now we've got to demonstrate that when we if we just use this summary statistic, or for that matter, this summary statistic, we get the correct answer. Now what you can do is make a, let's just start counting one. We're not going to do any macro or anything else. If I put norm inverse, NORM, it's like I'm addicted to this norm inverse thing. Okay, and we put RAND, open and close the bracket, and then we put in the mean. So let's start with just the raw energy. That's the mean, and then you put in a standard deviation. Okay, and you know that it gives you a simulation. Shift Control 1, Control D. So we've got two different ones. Now let's. This is, if this takes too long, so we're just going to do a whole lot of these. You know, and then we okay. Okay, so we have 10,000. Now, okay, so this is, we put a mean here, and then the standard deviation. Okay, I hope there's no background. Average, and then we put this in first, and then, okay. Okay, and then we get, when we do this, I hope that's what we were looking for. Okay, well, it's unbelievable how many of these sometimes you have to do. Whoops. Sorry, let's, okay. Okay. Okay, there's a few more, and let's take the average. Okay, the average looks like it's, ooh, it's not exactly the same. and the standard deviation. You know, it's amazing how many of these things you really have to do to get it to start to be exactly right. You know, if let's go to formulas and put a couple more in. Okay, okay, 83. Yeah, it's you know it's not exactly right. That's kind of amazing that you can't just put those in and get a exact one. But okay, 84,096. That's surprising. Okay, shoot. You know, I'm gonna. Oh God. I mean, I don't come. This is gonna really slow things down. But let's just click all the way down. Okay. Maybe this is the problem. Okay, 22461. Unbelievable, unbelievable. 84. Okay, okay. Well, whatever. And now, so this gives the first one. Now, this really kind of is upsetting. I guess that's the answer. It doesn't give you perfect. Now this is just on the energy, and then let's put the temperature. Okay, and then what we're going to see is if we add all these together, just like we did, do we get the right answer? And then we can kind of see if we can just do it a different way, where we just take this 4.72%, or alternatively this total standard deviation, and really get the same thing. I should have done it energy. We should have done it like this: net energy percent. So our standard deviation is you take this divided by the total net energy, not the gross one. Okay, and this is okay. And then if we would have then take this one and take the square of this one. Okay. And here's the other thing, my new complaint. Alternate equal, and then raise this. I think you have to get your hands dirty with a little bit of this data. Don't be afraid, and we get the exact same thing. So don't be afraid. And this shows you that when you do this, you'd have to use the net energy, not the gross energy. If we would have done the same thing and divide it by the gross energy, I'm kind of diverging a little here. We get a different answer. So make sure, you know, I wouldn't have known this without kind of going through some of these basic calculations. They're just like loss calculations, but they're a pain. So for the temperature coefficient, what we can do is copy the same thing now, and just of course go down one. Whoops! Oh shoot! Said of course, and then I got it wrong. Okay, so we just bring this down and bring this down, and then we can do the same thing for soiling, and finally inverter. Soiling sounds bad. And then we can get the total, which is, we'll just subtract things just exactly the way, well, I didn't do it like that, but okay. Now let's go down to the next one and go down to the next one. Okay, and let's finally go to the last one. Okay, and we put all of these in, and then we can get the standard deviations for all of these. And you can see, okay, this was supposed to be exactly the same as this. It's close enough. This was close, and this is, oh, there you go. It's right on. Now, what we can do is, for the simulation, this is really why we did this, just subtract all the losses, okay? And then let's compute the standard deviation of the total like this. And this kind of, and we get the total standard deviation of 84, 900, whatever. You know, obviously if we do it a couple more times, okay, that looks even better, okay? So that's how we could get it. Now we could get, if we wanted the total standard deviation, let's just do it a couple of different ways. Let's just say we put equal norm inverse now, and put RAND, and then for the mean, we can do this on let's do this on an energy basis. So this is our mean energy. You could do this with the capacity factor, and then for the standard deviation, we can just take this percentage that we had to be careful to get this one. We had to work through kind of each one, and then compute this root mean square thing. I better press F4 and multiply that by the total energy and press F4. Okay, which is kind of what I was trying to do just in the one earlier. This one's all different, of course. Okay, and then when we copy this across, we get just about the same thing and just about the same deviation. The only reason it's a little bit different is because you know why. It's because there's a different random number. Okay, so it demonstrates that we could, instead of computing each piece, we could have just taken this total piece, and then we can remove some of these pieces. If you would want to compute just the deviation associated with everything else except this, now this will mess things up, but I'm gonna delete this. It'll give me a bunch of numbers. That's what but this is kind of like what's the standard deviation percentage just due to the errors on the losses, which is not much, obviously. And if we want to compute the P90 just from this would be like a 20-year P90 or whatever you wanted. So if we put 90%, this time we can just take the norm inverse again, and then we can put the 1 minus the probability in there, and then and then you can take the mean. Actually, we can take the mean capacity factor, and then you can take this standard deviation, and it's going to be a very small amount that is caused by just the losses. And even if, let's put losses of, let's say there's a big uncertainty around this. Let's say there's a 20% uncertainty and 15% and I don't know, 10%, which says, okay, we could be wrong by quite a bit. We have 3%, but it's uncertainty around the 3% or the 4%. And then the 20 goes down to 18, okay? And you can try to get uncertainty around temperatures for the temperature coefficient and all this. I mean, if we would, if this would be 80% or something, so if we had an enormous thing, then we're starting to talk about kind of a lot of the. I hope I did this right. Oh no, I didn't do it right. I should have multiplied this by the capacity factor. Excuse me for that. Okay. So that's much lower. That's much lower. So let's put this back to 90%, and let's put this down to 10%, 5%, and 3%. So the difference now to these losses is really minor. And let's put the 4% back in here, and it shows you that if you trust all these things, you get a very low deviation. There's very little volatility. I think the biggest problem is there might be some kind of error in this one. You're not absolutely sure of the way everybody measures this and all that. So I don't know how to even incorporate that one. And so I'm going to end this video and just hope you kind of understand this root square error. Don't be afraid. The big lesson: don't be afraid to look at these studies, get into them, and see how they all work, and then play around with the data just a little bit. Don't be afraid just because you're not some really fancy, expensive consultant. So I'll call this the P90. Whoops, I'm gonna cancel this just a second, okay? And yeah, okay, enough of this. You'll find it on the website. It'll be called something like P50, P90 component with multiple sources. How's that? Okay, and I'm stopping the video now.